What scientific experiment would you run if money and ethics weren't an issue? See if a monkey tribe could become dominant over the rest by training them to make and use weapons and other primitive technology. Also interested in seeing if they would take their newfound knowledge and begin to expand an empire. So, one thing they did learn about chimps is that they don't teach each other. They often are observers. A monkey see, monkey do situation. Humans teach other, but we also have an inherent trust in others when we are young, so we trust what we are being taught is true. Humans as adults will teach each other and form ideally mutually beneficial relationships. It is what gave us a huge advantage in developing material cultures like stone tools, being made in a similar pattern by different groups of people. We learn from each other more than other great apes than just when we are young. If one individual is taught to make a spear, it won't go back to its troop, and it won't proactively teach others to make a spear for the benefit of the group, but the others who see it make a spear will make their own after watching the first chimp do it. How long a decapitated head stays conscious? All we have are anecdotes that might have been exaggerated. I've always wanted a definitive answer, but ethics. It's been done 7-10 seconds, so you gotta start planning on your last words. Now you won't have time then. My current is, I'm going to head out when the French still used guillotines. I believe it was reported that people would still blink and look for about 10 seconds. I remember watching a video about it, but can't remember who it was by. You won't have lungs, boss. This isn't exactly true. Your head may stay alive for 7-10 seconds, but you'd lose all intelligence and consciousness immediately following decapitation due to factors like a combination of shock and sudden drop in blood pressure. Sudden removal of blood pressure, the result of accelerated weight loss. How athletes from different sports react to fight or flight. Even further, would they fight differently than others? Fighters just walking around, killing all of the other athletes, until the biathlon guy pull out his gun and start shooting. Have a baby human raised by apes, basically to see if Tarzan scenario would occur and the human is able to communicate fully with the apes. There have actually been a lot of cases of wild children who were raised with animals, most often dogs, as they're the most likely to bond with humans. But I believe there may have been one with monkeys. Look up feral children and you'll find plenty of articles and stories. Have an Olympics where every single athlete is drugged to an insane level. I think it would raise what is possible by today's standards drastically. Not just drugs, bionic parts, gene therapy, hormone treatments. The Mega Olympics, where you can match a man-horse hybrid race against the $6 million man. And that man-horse is trained from birth to do nothing but race. Like, horribly punished whenever he shows any ambition other than racing. Can barely speak a full sentence, but Forrest Gump's the instant he is told to run from point A to point B, his legs are built like concrete, and the training facility has the toilet clogged all the time because his urine is so packed with steroids that there is muscle tissue growing inside the plumbing. Oh man, I love this question. There are a ton of geoengineering experiments that I'd love to run if they weren't both 1. illegal, 2. insanely expensive, 3. non-zero possibility of death and destruction. Iron fertilization, basically dumping tons of iron dust into the ocean to cause an algae bloom, which should sequester a bunch of carbon and help mitigate global warming. Cloud seeding, space mirrors, dropping a nuke into a volcano, normal stuff. What are the downsides of iron fertilization? a big gas algae bloom would block sunlight and kill tons of water vegetation and the animals that don't eat algae. I've actually thought a ton about this. I would put two people through the exact same conditions the entire life. Now, I'm not talking just similar scenarios, but everything from the weather inside the womb to the humans they interact with, to the wind every day, and I would see if they are the same. Essentially, if humans are born with personalities, or if we develop them through little things all our life, essentially the butterfly effect. TBH, this probably wouldn't even be possible with infinite money, but it would be cool. I would really love to read a paper about this experiment, TBH. I would like to listen to you summarize that paper. I study cognitive sciences. There's actually a ton of studies on this subject. Early theories of cognition suggested we were born as tabula rasa, or blank slates, implying that all our cognition is a result of our environment. Today, we know that this is wrong, mainly due to studies on twins separated at birth. In almost all these studies, scientists found strange similarities between the twins, despite never having met before. For example, some twins had the same food preferences, the same phobias, same color preference, some even named their child the same name. Edit. I just realized I made the grave academic mistake of not showing sources for my claims. Whoops, that's what happens when you answer Reddit comments in the middle of exams. To clarify my statements about the twins studies, according to my bad memory, the results from the similarities between twins were larger than in the baseline. I'm not sure what the p-values for the studies were on the top of my head. If you're interested in a really entertaining telling of something similar to this, you should check out Radiolab, a podcast. They have an episode called Inheritance, where one of the reporters talk about how she and her identical twin actually was a part of a similar study on twins. They don't really go that deep into the results, but more what it's like to be in such an experiment. The Gilligan's Island experiment. Shipwreck 100 people with vastly different backgrounds, wealth disparity, and personalities on a remote island. See what kind of civilization grows from it. Then, do it 50 more times to check results against each other. Someone wrote a book about this. Basically, there are a number of case studies. You might find it interesting, look it up. They're called shipwreck societies. Edit. Wow, this blew up during Thanksgiving. The name of the book is Blueprint by Nick Christakis. The link is here. Enjoy all. Happy Thanksgiving. There's also an island in the South Pacific, Pitcairn Island, whose inhabitants, around 50, are the descendants of the mutineers of HMS Bounty. Their society? Basically, lots of child rape, which, when brought to trial, included their lawyers arguing that they didn't know rape was illegal. The British government had to build a prison especially for them. How would the world react to a mountain of 100 billion pennies for free in the middle of a major area? This sounds so dumb, but is really fucking interesting if you think about it. I thought that said penises at first. Either way, I'd show up with a bucket and fill it to the goddamn brim about 500 times over the course of 24 hours. I've always wanted to try to breed a winter blooming rose. Ethics are fine, but the cost of having that many roses in the hothouse and the decades of selective breeding most likely required to accomplish it would cost an astronomical amount, so I'm sticking with it. This is one of the most interesting replies I've read that isn't cruel or obscure. It seems so simple and achievable, yet I fully understand the ridiculous amount of money and work involved, as you described it, to achieve the desired outcome. Roses Like most flowers, are genetically programmed to bloom during a certain time of the year. For roses it's late spring, early summer. Yuck. To make a rose bloom during winter, you'd have to train the rose over several generations. To make it happen, you'd have to trick it into believing that winter is an adequate time of the year for blooming. The goal of this would be to have roses in winter. That's it. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more upcoming videos. Have an amazing day.